Hey, it's KMK. In part 1, we discussed the existence of Merlings in A Song of Ice and Fire. In part 2, we looked at how Merlings could be influenced by people's thoughts when they are drowned. In part 3, we went through the evidence of Varys being a Merling. Now, we're going to uncover the Merling's grand plan. So far, we've established that the Merlings dislike R'hllor, the Red God, which makes sense. Fish people probably don't like flame gods, you know. We also know that they have manipulated humans and embed themselves into the human world. But why? What would you do if you were a Merling? Well, seeing as I'm a fish person, I wouldn't like land that much, so I would like to flood the world so there's more sea for me to have my domain in. But how could we flood the land and make more sea? We would need some giant, huge amount of non-liquid water, like ice, on the surface somewhere so we could melt it and flood all the surrounding lowlands. I wonder where we could find that. That's right, the Merlin's grand plan is to melt the entire wall and flood all of the lowlands of Westeros. Now, for the Merlings to be able to pull off this grand plan, they would need some help from humans that were crazy enough or desperate enough to destroy their own kind for self-empowerment. I wonder if we know any characters that fit that description.
Littlefinger was born with no lands, no wealth, no armies. He has acquired the first two. How long before he has the army? Perhaps you'll laugh, but I know him better than most, and this is the truth. But he would see this country burn if he could be king of the ashes.
So you're probably thinking, wait, Littlefinger is working for the Merlins? But I thought Varys and Littlefinger were constantly undermining each other. I don't know why I gave you that accent, but YOLO. Well, the answer is that Littlefinger is not just a servant of the Merlings, but the Merling King. Dun dun dun!
If they catch you, they'll put your head on a spike just like my father's. You'd risk that just to confuse them.
So many men. They risk so little. They spend their lives avoiding danger. Then they die. I'd risk everything to get what I want.
And what do you want?
Everything.
Now, before we get ahead of each other again, let's look at Littlefinger's past. Littlefinger comes from a seafaring merchant family from Braavos. Littlefinger is actually an accomplished sailor himself, and if anyone is likely to see the reclusive Merling species, it's a merchant or a fisherman. To make it obvious, Littlefinger named one of his ships the Merling King. What? How is this not a major theory already? Littlefinger also claims to have Varys completely under his control, which would actually make sense because he's the Merling King and Varys is a Merling, so he has power over him. Also, we all know that Littlefinger has a grand plan of his own to become king or something like that, so maybe it was just this all along. Now, I know some of you guys ain't convinced yet, so let's go through. So Varys seems to be fighting against Littlefinger, but Littlefinger claims that he's got complete control of him. So these things do not work well together. There's a conflict here. But a way to better understand their relationship is that it's an Emperor Palpatine tactic. This way, Littlefinger can control both sides of the opposing forces, e.g. the Starks and the Lannisters. And with this influence on both sides, he can make them destroy each other, creating this chaos that he can claim his later on. So pretty much, this entire plan will be destruction of the Jedi, but Westeros style. Now, I do understand if you believe all the theory that we've covered so far, from episode 1 to now, there's still two questions that remain that completely oppose this theory. How will they be able to mount the wall? And what does Littlefinger gain from all this? What are the people who work for the Merlings? What are the people who are hiding this theory, hiding the Merlings, hiding everything from the public and distorting the way that people can see the true understanding of Westeros? How do they gain from this entire scenario? Let's start with the first question. This is when Varys and Illyrio come in. They want to bring Dany's dragons north and mount the ice, including the entire wall, so that the raising of the coastlines from this water will cover majority of Westeros and maybe the entire world. So you could call it magical global warming. Now if that term sounds familiar to you, it's maybe because you've understood one of the previous theories that have been put out there before about the White Walkers actually trying to fight because the temperature is rising because of all this magical activity. So maybe a link to that theory is that they're not fighting against the humans, they're fighting against the Merlings, and the humans are just in the way and getting manipulated by them. But that's a whole nother story and a whole nother time. And now question 2, what do they gain from helping out the Merlings? Well, after the flooding, there'll be only a few islands that remain. Places like the Eyrie, so Littlefinger and the other people who help him out, who was appointed in these leadership positions like the Merling King, will be seated in the Eyrie, and they will be able to control the remaining islands. Okay, even if you're still not convinced, just remember this. Many people believe that George R. R. Martin named the series A Song of Ice and Fire to show about the whole war and fight between the dragons and their fire and the White Walkers and the ice. But what happens when you bring ice and fire together? You get water, motherfuckers. Oh, guys, by the way, when I was starting off watching Game of Thrones, I came into it and it had been about Season 3 was just releasing, and that was the kind of area that I brought into Game of Thrones. And so I didn't really read the books, I didn't know anything about the show already, but as soon as I watched that season, I was completely drawn in. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube and stuff to try and get an understanding of the extended universe around Game of Thrones from the Song of Ice and Fire series. And so after much weighing of the huge tome-like books of Song of Ice and Fire I decided to read the series, and it was amazing. Now I'm a slow reader and I don't pick up everything along the way, so I wanted to read the series more than once. After I read it the first time, I had to commit myself to reading the audiobooks. And I think that would be a really useful thing for a lot of you guys who want to learn all the stuff about this universe, but can't be bothered reading through these immensely long books. The audiobook's just an easy way of doing it. So if you want to start reading the series, or look at some of the extended universe around the series, if you've already read the series, through audiobooks, then you can go through my link, audibletrial.com/king, and you get one audiobook, whatever you want, for free. So you can get that first book in the series or one of the extended ones, so you can see if you like listening to audiobooks, if you like the series, and can carry it on from there as you wish. There'll be a link in the description for anyone who wants to use it. I would really encourage you guys to read the series, and it really supports me, helps me able to put these videos out for you guys, so that would be great as well. So loads of thanks to all of you guys for giving me 5,000 subscribers, this awesome community, and helping me along with my dream of creating this channel. Other than that, I'll see you guys next time.